My name is Cecilia. I am 32 years old. I have a husband. His name is Richard. He is 34 years old. We have been married for 8 years. I loved my husband very much. He loved me too. But one day, everything changed. At breakfast, Richard looked at me and said something I did not expect. He said, "Cecilia, I can't live like this anymore." I froze. What was wrong? He said, "I can't live with your mother in this house. I feel like a stranger in my own home." I did not know what to say. I love Richard. I love my mother. They are both important to me. How can I choose? Richard looked serious, very serious. He said, "You must choose Cecilia. It's me or your mother." I could not believe it. Choose between my husband and my mother? I asked, "Richard, are you serious?" He said, "Yes. I cannot stay here if your mother stays." How could this happen? We were happy before. Or maybe I just thought we were happy. Richard stood up and said, "Think about it. I need your answer soon." Then he opened the door and left the house. The door closed behind him. I sat at the table looking at the wall. What should I do? How could I break my mother's heart? How could I lose my husband? What if I choose wrong? What if I lose them both? I felt alone, very alone. I wanted to cry. I thought about my mother. I wanted to talk to my mother, but what could I say? In the evening, my mother called me. She asked, "Cecilia, are you okay?" I wanted to say yes, but it was not true. So I said, "Mom, we need to talk." There was a long silence. Then my mother said, "Is it about Richard?" My heart hurt. How did she know? I said, "Yes, Richard wants you to leave." After a long moment, my mother said, "If this is what you want, Cecilia, I will go." I said, "No, I don't want you to leave. I don't want to lose you." My mother said, "You have a husband now. You must choose your marriage." I thought, but why must I choose? Why can't we all stay together? I called Richard. I said, "Can we talk?" He answered quickly, "Have you decided?" I said, "Richard, please understand. My mother has no other place to go." He said, "I understand, but I cannot live like this. It is her or me." I felt hurt and sad. No matter what I chose, someone would get hurt. But what if I lose both? What if Richard leaves and my mother leaves too? I wanted to scream, but all I could do was sit and ask myself, what is the right thing to do? That night, I could not sleep. In the morning, I made a decision. I had to talk to both of them together. I asked Richard to stay for breakfast. I asked my mother to sit with us at the table. It was quiet, too quiet. I said, "We need to find a solution together." Richard looked at me. He said, "There is no solution. I already told you I can't live here with her." My mother looked down. She said, "I can leave today. I will find somewhere to go." I shouted, "No, that's not what I want." Richard said, "Then I will leave." I felt my heart break. I said, Please, Richard, please listen. She is my mother. She has no money. She has no home. If she leaves, she will be alone. Richard said, and if I stay, I will always feel like a visitor. This is not a marriage, Cecilia. This is a mistake. A mistake. My heart broke. I asked, Richard, do you really think our marriage was a mistake? He said nothing. My mother stood up. She said, I will go. I will not destroy your marriage. I wanted to scream, no, but I said nothing. Richard stood up too. He said, I am going to work. When I come back, I want your answer. And he left. My mother went to her room to pack her things. I sat alone at the table again. I thought, maybe love is not enough. Maybe family is not enough either. Maybe sometimes love means letting go. But who should I let go? My mother, the woman who gave me life, or Richard, the man I chose to build a future with? I had to decide. I closed my eyes. I said to myself, there must be another way, but was there? Or was I already too late? I heard my mother moving in her room. I heard the sound of a suitcase. She was really going to leave. I wanted to stop her, but if I stopped her, would Richard leave me forever? I wanted to stop Richard too, but if I stopped him, would my mother be left alone? I thought, maybe if I talk to Richard again, he will change his mind. I waited for him to come back. I waited and waited. It was dark. Still, no sign of Richard. I thought, maybe he is already gone. Maybe he will never come back. I called him. No answer. I sent a message. No reply. My heart was full of fear. I asked myself, did I already lose him? Then the door opened. Richard walked in. He looked tired. He looked angry. He said, well, Cecilia, what is your decision? I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. Richard said, I need to know now. I wanted to say, please stay. Let's find a way. But my mother came into the room. She was holding her suitcase. She said, I am leaving, Richard. You don't have to choose. Richard looked at her. He said nothing. I said, Mom, you don't have to leave. She smiled a little. She said, it's time, Cecilia. Richard said, good, then everything is fine now. But it didn't feel fine. It felt wrong, very wrong. I watched my mother walk to the door. Richard stood beside me. He said, now we can have a real marriage. I wanted to feel happy, but I felt empty. Was this really love? And then I thought, if he really loved me, would he make me choose? I looked at Richard. I looked at my mother, and for the first time I saw the truth. I stood there. I watched my mother open the door. Richard smiled. He said, now we can start a new life, Cecilia. I looked at Richard, and suddenly I knew this was not love. This was control. Love does not say, choose me or lose everything. I said, Mom, wait. My mother stopped. Richard said, Cecilia, what are you doing? I said, I need to say something. I turned to my mother and said, "Mom, you don't have to leave. You are my family. You are my heart." My mother said nothing. Then I turned to Richard and said, "Richard, I love you, but I will not throw my mother away." Richard laughed a little. He said, "So you choose her? You are making a mistake." I said, "No, I choose what is right. I choose real love." Richard looked at me for a long time, then he said, "Goodbye, Cecilia." He walked out the door without even looking back. The door closed. The house felt very quiet. I turned to my mother. She looked worried. I said, "It's okay, Mom. We are okay." She smiled, and then I smiled too. I thought I would feel empty. I would feel broken, but I felt free. Love is not about forcing someone to choose, and maybe losing Richard was not the end. Maybe it was the beginning of something better. Maybe one day I will find love again. Maybe it will be stronger. Maybe it will be kinder. But today, I am okay. Today, I choose myself. Today, I choose my family. Today, I choose love. If you enjoyed the story, please like, subscribe, and share.